Welcome back to the tutorial. So in the previous tutorial, we set up two different fade screens, and in essence, we actually started storyboarding our game, right? Because when you begin the game, it establishes an opening fade screen where it fades a little bit longer, and Bob blinks his eyes. And we talked about setting Bob up with a bed and having him in bed, sort of waking up. So when we hit our preview here, we already did a lot of the sort of back-end coding here, right? Bob can't move. He's blinking his eyes. Now we just need to sort of set up our bed and whatnot, and that's easy enough. We've done that a bunch of times. So let's go to Basic Kingdom Room, and let's add a new sprite. And we will call that sprite bed. And again, I always recommend don't spend too much time on your sprites, honestly, at first. Work on building the code because it's a lot easier to just add a sprite, a nicer sprite later on. All right, there's our bed. No need to make this global, right? Let's keep it local to this scene here. All right, so where do we begin? Let's go to our variable page, global variables, and let's set up our new bed here. We need to go down to Kingdom Rooms. Now, there is something to be said for moving these Kingdom Rooms, over to an external event and really cleaning up our GUI here. That is something that we might have to think about at a certain point. Because if we have multiple scenes, do we really want this GUI to be overrun with multiple scenes and multiple rooms and things like that? We probably should move this over to an external event filled with these values here, and we'll just add a load screen to get them sort of set up, or something similar to that. All right, in the meantime, let's go ahead and make sure we're in Kingdom Room 0, which is Bob's room. Then we have the furniture structure, and we can add a child variable to the furniture structure here. There it is. And that one is just called bed. And then we need just two child variables under that, because the bed isn't filled with anything, unless you want it to be. We need a position X, right, and a position Y. And we can go ahead and fill these in now. The bed should be somewhere probably in the lower left-hand side kind of thing. So we'll go position X, 120. Position Y will go down to about 400, let's say. All right, we'll hit apply. 120 and 400, keep that in mind here. All right, so let's go into our basic Kingdom Room external events. And we need Kingdom Room EEs, and we need the Kingdom Room creation. And we need to add to our Kingdom Room here. So we'll say copy, paste, copy, paste. And instead of a chest, we are creating the bed. And we just need to change this to bed. Same thing here, change this to bed. And I think when we hit preview, we've got ourselves a new bed. Yep, there it is. Now Bob likely, there's no collision detection set for this yet. So right now it just kind of looks like Bob is scared and coming out of his bed. That's the beauty of the Z order that they set up actually. The Z order can sometimes be a pain in the butt, but other times, I mean, that's really kind of funny actually to see Bob do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's set up a couple of things for our bed here, right? We need to set up our collision detection, and that's in this external event here. Let's get rid of Kingdom Room Creations. We don't need that. I'm going to get rid of Player Bob for right now. And let's see, basic collisions, no interactions. That's really what we need here. We've got the cement block. Do I want to? Yeah, sure. Let's create a grouping here. I'm going to call this furniture and room tiles. The room tiles can go right underneath here. I'm going to copy this code though. And can I paste it in here? No, we'll move it up here anyway. What's going on? Alright, I'll move it down here then. There we go. Okay, I knew I was going to like one of them. And then let's move this over. And let's change this to bed. Stop Bob, move Bob away from bed. All right. Now let's see. Let's do a preview and see how we did. Okay, this is our opening scene. We can't move Bob. There we go. All right. Good. So the next thing we want to do is we want to get Bob in the opening scene in this bed actually and facing down. So we got to think about the easiest way to do this to figure it out. Bringing up the calculator just in case we need some basic math stuff done. Let's take a look at our bed object with Pascal. And let's get the dimensions here. Okay, and we get the dimensions from resize. So it's 100 is the width and 128 is the height. Height is not so much of an issue here. The width is more of an issue here for us to deal with. We want to center Bob, obviously. So the center point of this would be 50, right? The center point of Bob is 64 by 64. Center point of Bob would be 32. So the question then becomes, where do we want to start Bob, his X position, the starting position? If we start Bob at 50 minus 32, start Bob at 18, I think I did the math incorrectly there. Or maybe I didn't actually. 2 plus 32 equals 50, right? That actually might be correct. It might be 18 from the X position, the X starting position of the bed itself. Let's try that and see if that math works out all right here. What's going on? Oh, it's because it doesn't like that I didn't cancel out of this. There we go. Okay. So I'm in the basic kingdom room here. I'm going to use this D key as released to just do a quick test for positioning. I'm going to say when the D key is released, let's go ahead and move. Let's move the position of Bob. And I want the X position to be, again, we need our starting position. I'm going to go ahead and get the starting position from the button here, just so I don't mess it up the first time. It's the Kingdom Room 0 furniture dot bed position X plus 18. And the Y position, I'm going to just say is, it's position Y of the bed. Let's try that. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to let this load up all the way first. All right, now I'm going to hit the D key. So it looks like my math was off a little bit. I got to move them over about another 32, so 50. Do I actually do 50 here? Let's try that. D key released. Another 18. So plus 32. Let's try that. All right, that's actually pretty centered right there. But I do want the Y, to be down here more, the Y position. So I'm going to plus, let's see if that works actually, or if our collision detection is going to throw a problem here. I'm going to do Y plus 32. And let's see again if there's a collision detection issue, which should be pretty easy to fix for us. Yep, it's collision detection, that's a problem. Okay, so we can change this by going into our Kingdom Room collisions and saying Bob is a collision with bed and adding that our global variable start of game is not equal to 0, right? Invert it to say it's not equal to 0. Now let's try it out and see what happens. All right. So you know what happened to Bob here? What always happens when something doesn't show up on the screen for the most part? Always, for the most part. Z order, right? We've got a Z order problem. So let's fix that. The Z order of the bed is 10. The fade screen is 500. I'm going to set, let's go into our external layout. Go to Project Manager, External Layouts, Kingdom Rooms, and I'm going to click on Bob and set his Z order to 499. That should be the highest in this room that's not the fade screen. Let's see how that goes. Let's hit Preview again. And we'll hit the D key. All right, I think Bob's a little bit far down. Let's move him up to his pillow. So let's do, I wonder if we just can go back to 0, because it looked like it was about 64 off. me try that again. Yeah, on his pillow. Okay. Then it pops him out. We'll work on that code. And then when we hit the D key, of course, because the game start is over, the collision detection is kicking in, and he can no longer be on that pillow there. All right, so the last thing, I actually want to go to my external layout again, the Kingdoms room, and I'm gonna rotate Bob here. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Let me zoom in. You gotta use these little blue buttons here to move around. You see them? They're a little bit difficult to see. I'm gonna zoom in here on Bob. I'm gonna rotate him so that he starts down. That way he'll begin our fade screen in bed in the down position. Now, when we come out of the room here and go back in, you'll notice that Bob is facing down here. So we can change that through our code as well. But I think we'll deal with that next time, right? Because for right now, we've got the code we need to set this up in terms of getting Bob in his bed. We'll work on refining that code in the next tutorial.